Well, I think they're out of the blue ones. I gotta go. Hey, everybody. It's time for a cassette story, part 3. The criminal project. No, it's not that. But we'll spare you the whole opening the cassette case thing again because you saw that last week. And if you really enjoy me opening cassette cases like an ASMR thing, leave a comment and maybe I'll make a video like that. But until then, we'll just go with today's album, and it's a good one. Ugly Kid Joe is ugly as they want to be, and they wanted to be pretty ugly back in the day. Rumor has it, this is probably something I could have looked up, they were feuding with a very glammy glam band called Pretty Boy Floyd. And they did not want to take the whole glam rock thing so seriously. They didn't do the whole hair tease to Jesus and spandex and high heels business that Motley Crue and Twisted Sister made famous in the early 80s, which was still carrying on to the early 90s pre-Nirvana. So they were very dressed down kind of band. And, you know, Ugly Kid Joe is kind of a play off Pretty Boy Floyd. And while Pretty Boy Floyd never quite achieved the heights of success that was expected, I mean, there was a lot of hopes on that band. But, you know, coming around like a year before Nirvana, that didn't help. But these guys were able to sneak onto the charts with a little ditty called Everything About You. And you might think, oh, I haven't heard that song. It sounds lovely. Yeah, I hate everything about you. Not like the angry 3 Days Grace kind. This is the playful sort of goof-off band kind. I mean, the music video was them flying a inflatable companion as a kite at a beach. So that happened. It was in black and white, though, so very artsy. Anyway, this is their EP from Stardog Records, distributed through Polydor. And EP, of course, for those of you, it's an extended play. A long play is an album. A single is a single. But in between is the EP, which is like, 6, 7 songs usually. This one's 6. And this is a cassette EP, so the program repeats on both sides, which is how most cassette EPs worked. Not all. Like David Lee Roth's Crazy from the Heat EP, he put 2 songs on each side, which I guess you're saving some magnetic tape there. But whatever. It's Dave. Dave does what Dave does. Now this particular album was a big one in my school. A friend of mine, Sam, in class, he had this before I did, and he loved it. He ranted about it. He raved about it. I mean, I heard some of the songs from him. And he went so far as to even give it a kiss one day, talking about how much he loved it as a new album. Which is not something he did usually. For anything. Anyway, I picked up my copy at a little store called Musicland. Now, for those of you who maybe don't remember or are too young to know, Musicland was a nationwide chain of music stores selling CDs, cassettes, I'm guessing records before records went away, before they came back. They were based out of the Twin Cities. They had Musicland and Sam Goody. They don't exist anymore. But they were big in malls. Back when malls were a bigger thing. Not the Dead Malls series you see on also on YouTube. But yeah, they had a Musicland there. I picked up my copy there. Now, why was I in Aberdeen that day? Funny, you didn't ask. Because this whole show is supposed to be about stories. My first 2 episodes, I'll admit, light on stories. Because the cassettes I had weren't very story-centric. Could have planned that better. But this one, I bought this at a mathlete competition. Well, not the competition. We went to the Lakewood Mall in Aberdeen after the competition. I bought this at Musicland. But anyway, the reason I was at a mathlete event, well, our math teacher, Mrs. Topkin, she didn't play around. She knew who the mathletes were. It was pretty obvious who the mathletes were. Because there were the kids who got A's, and there were the B's, and a couple C's, but, we were all passing. But the A's, obviously, are your mathletes. I mean, they don't have a problem with being, it's a school of, 45 people. Who cares? But, in the interest of fairness, she would give a test. And the top 3 grades on this test would have the opportunity to go to the mathlete competition if they so chose. It was basically a formality, because she was already taking all the kids who got A's. But here comes Mr. B Plus here. I somehow placed 3rd. I don't know how. I really don't. But she said I could go and try this math competition. And I'm like, an excused absence from school. I get to go to Aberdeen, hang out at Northern State. Okay, I'll go. None of us placed, but we went. We ate at Pizza Hut, and we went to the mall, and one of the things at the mall, I picked up my copy of Ugly Kid Joe, As Ugly as I Want to Be. So, what's inside? It's like the unboxing. Is this a box? We used to call it a case back in the day. Got your album cover. Now, the album cover, by the way, if I'd bought this at the Walmart at the Super City Mall, because it used to be connected, they sold the version, the kid's mouth was taped up, the middle finger was bandaged over, and he had a ball and chain on because, it was a play on the censorship thing. This is back when the PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Council, was a big deal. I remember when all parents had to worry about were the lyrics of songs their kids were listening to. Seems so quaint now, doesn't it? Anyway. Nobody cares. Ugly Kid Joe, you had your other logo here, the UKJ, with apparently trying to stick a firecracker up a cat's butt. Do not recommend. Yeah, got some lyrics here. Got the band sitting at some kind of like wrecked house. I don't know. This song, by the way, Everything About You, aside from being a big hit on its own, was also briefly in the movie Wayne's World. How into the movie Wayne's World was I? Well, one of my first purchases on VHS was the movie Wayne's World, and I also had the soundtrack. And one day, in my room, with my VCR and TV I bought with my own graduation money, kids' nowadays, I sat and wrote down all the songs in the soundtrack because I wanted to make sure at what point in the movie they all appeared. Why, I don't know. That reasoning is lost to time. But this seemed like a fun thing to do in 1992. And what I found out was Ugly Kid Joe is in the movie but not on the soundtrack. And also the Bullet Boys, Rock Candy. Like, that is not in the movie. I watched it just paying attention to the music. I could not find Rock Candy by the Bullet Boys. But it's on the soundtrack. It must be a deleted scene or something. If you know, leave a comment, because I can't find it. But anyway, yeah, that also helped the song's popularity. If you're wondering what scene it is, it's the scene when they go to the donut place, and the guy is going to spew, and he gives him the cup. It says, you're going to spew in here. And then Wayne starts explaining things when they're going to Stan Mikita's Donuts. Yeah, I've watched that movie in over a decade, and I can still basically break it down scene by scene. But anyway, you also came here to find out if it will still cassette. Well, I've got my little Radio Shack number here. Let's slide that. Oh, I didn't talk about the songs on here. I should do that quick. Madman, it's a song about a serial killer on the loose in Disneyland. I'm not going to do this with everyone, but since it's an EP, we can do that. Whiplash Liquor, it's about drinking. Too Bad is about addiction, I think. It's a good song. Everything About You, of course, that's the money song. Sweetly Funky Fresh Country Club. This is an interesting one. On all of the Ugly Kid Joe compilations I've seen, they chop Sweetleaf off, and I don't know why. Because they also contributed to the Covered in Black, a tribute to Black Sabbath album, except they did NIB, which was also done on the second Black Sabbath tribute album, except by Primus, with Ozzy singing. What's the point of doing a tribute if it's the same? Anyway. But yeah, they usually chop Sweetleaf off of this. Maybe they didn't have permission when they recorded it and never bothered to get, I don't know. But some of the compilations have NIB on it, which is confusing, to say the very least. Oh, and they have a 30-second track called Heavy Metal, which is kind of funny. So, again, now we find out, will it cassette? Yep, Madman's still loose in Disneyland. I don't know if they got sued for that. I don't think they did. But anyway, that is a cassette story. And this one actually had stories in it. So it was as advertised. So until next week, eject.